everyone. So delighted to welcome you all to this exciting panel on virtual banks and what is the look ahead. My name is Helene Lee. I'm the General Manager of the FinTech Association of Hong Kong. I'm delighted to have with me two distinguished panelists that really brings with us a breath of fresh air across the whole spectrum of virtual banks and really the whole digital transformation theme. I'm very pleased to have with me Frederick Lau, who is the Vice Chairman of AMTD Group, as well as a board member and also advisor to Airstar Bank.
Hello.
Your involvement is still extremely crucial to this going forward. And we also have Raymond Yeung, Vice Chairman of the Global Advisory Committee at AMTD Group. Raymond, would you like to say hi to
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We look forward to sharing more ideas with all.
Great. Now, I'd like to just jump right into the crux of the matter. And I think of all the why, what, and how, the most important one is probably the why. So I will turn to Fred. Why did you join the VB, race, which is really, heated right now?
Well, I guess a banking license is very valuable in Hong Kong or probably in any place. Now, in Hong Kong, the government and HKMA have not issued any banking licenses. I don't know for how many years, probably for several decades. And in 2018, and they announced they are going to issue several banking license. So all the people are getting excited, jumping into the application applying process. So Xiaomi and AMTD were one of those joining the application process. Now, I guess every applicant would have different reasons why they applied the license, the virtual banking license. Now for Xiaomi and AMTD, and I guess we are very clear. Xiaomi is the world leading Internet of Things kind of operator. So we would like to connect directly to the consumers and SMEs and connecting the Internet of Things service with the banking services. So those are the, and then also Xiaomi is they are very active in on the mainland China for supply chain financing. I think for virtual banking, that is also a very good way to service our customers. And AMTD is a very green and very innovative independent investment banking group. So virtual banking is fit right into AMTD's business strategy. So on the grand picture of it, I think those are the reasons Xiaomi and AMTD, they joined together, form a consortium and apply for the virtual banking license.
Yeah, that's actually very exciting to know. Thank you, Fred. I think, launching a new business model is tough enough, and launching it in times of COVID-19 is even tougher. So I just wonder if you could share with us, has your launch plans been affected or reshaped because of the global pandemic? And if so, how have they been changed?
Yes, I think the COVID-19 affected probably everybody in this world, and we are no exception. And during the approval process, I think there are times we cannot meet with the regulators. We cannot deal directly with the regulators face by face, and we cannot deal with our own implementation team face by face. So those will have some impact on the process of our implementation before we launch business. And now, after we launch our business, the things, I think there are some positive aspects and negative aspects. Now, I'll say the negative aspects is the economy. the economy is getting, getting negatively affected by COVID-19. And so we are very cautious in our lending activities that will probably affect somehow on how we are going to launch our lending business. But on the other hand, because of COVID-19, and a lot of people turn to virtual banking, and because they don't need to have a direct contact going into the bank's branches and to do transactions, they can do transactions just off their handset. So there are, from the business part, I think there are some negative aspects and some positive aspects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think it's really quite interesting that COVID has been like a double-edged sword. It moves ahead digital transformation, but also
for virtual banks.
Yeah, for virtual banks, but also it provides a lot of challenges in other ways. Now, I know that financial inclusion is very much one of your missions and what you set out to accomplish. So could you share a little bit with us how you go about doing that?
I don't know the audience understands this or not. For the 8 virtual banking license issued in Hong Kong, we are required, all 8 banks are required to focus our business on financial inclusion. And that means we have to provide services to consumers. We have to provide our services to SMEs. So those are the key focuses for our business strategy. And now, for Airstar banks, so we, I guess we managed, I take it back, because our cost, because we don't have any branches, we hire less people to directly serve customers. Our cost could be lower. That means our deposit rates can be a little bit higher than the traditional banks. And our lending rates can be a little bit lower than the traditional banks. And so from the very beginning, we serve our banking customers by lowering the lending rates and higher the deposit rates. And we don't collect any service fees. And so for that, I guess to a certain extent, I guess we can say we probably give the traditional banks some pressure to lower their service fees. And I think that benefit to the entire population in Hong Kong. Now, going forward, we are going to provide more fast and more products, fast services and more products to the consumers. And hopefully the SMEs and consumers will not pay 40% interest rate to get some loans from different financial services institutions and from some money lenders. And that will be our goal.
I think that's extremely interesting because you already see that certain incumbent banks are responding with lowering fees and so on. So the competition, I think, is healthy ultimately for the end user, the consumer. Not only do they have more choices, but actually there can be more of a fair play, which is the underlying principle of financial inclusion. Now,
I just want to supplement for another aspect. Now, going forward, when we collect more customer data, and we can probably use AI or a cloud calculation and other innovative methods to run our business. And for example, we will largely reduce our operation staff. And probably we will use AI to do our credit engine. and that also will reduce our credit cost. For that will translate into another reduction in lending rates, and probably another increase for the deposit rates as well. And those are the, I guess, our goal for virtual banks. All virtual banks, I think we are looking for that kind of goals in future.
Thank you. That's really good to know, because ultimately it's the consumer who will benefit from all these, the technology, the choices, the different options that are available. I want to turn for a moment, Fred, if I may, because both Hong Kong and Singapore are important hubs for you. So have your strategy, your planning been different here as the one that you are building in Singapore?
Now, in Singapore, you may have known, we also, Xiaomi and AMTD, also forming consortium and applying a virtual banking license. In Singapore, they call digital banking license in Singapore. So we also are applying the license in Singapore, but the license we apply in Singapore is a wholesale banking license. So it does not include retail banking. So we mainly will focus on SME and also financial inclusion, SME type of services in Singapore. So that means because our focus in Singapore is SME, so we will provide probably more services and product just focusing on the SME's needs. And in Hong Kong, I guess our strategy is consumer is one, and corporate is another stream. So in Singapore, we just have one focus, mainly on SMEs.
Okay, understand. So the target client segment, if you like, is slightly different between Hong Kong and Singapore. That's very interesting. Now, Raymond, we've been very quiet, and I really want to turn to you for these broader thoughts at a macro level, if I may. While digital transformation in the whole financial sector is really a burning topic, there is always a skeptical school of thought that no matter what the virtual banks do, you are never going to shake the foundations or replace these legacy incumbents that have hundreds of years of foundation behind them. What are your thoughts on that, Raymond?
Okay, in my view, based on our experience looking at different virtual banks or digital banks around the world, these new players are actually complementary in some respects to the existing incumbents. Virtual banks or digital banks are built based on a very different tech platform. They are more agile, they are more adaptive, and they tend to follow customers' behavior and create or want to create a very different kind of customer journey. So in that regard, a lot of people actually look at digital banks as providing a banking as a service, BAS. And what do I mean for banking as a service? That refers to the digital bank or the virtual bank sitting in the middle and serving, on the one hand, the fintech companies who would be connected to the virtual bank through APIs in an open platform. On the other hand, serving other customers or other ecosystem players to generate a holistic set of services or customer experience to the ultimate consumers. So to give an example, in China, some virtual banks are working with larger platform ecosystem players like, for example, Didi, the car hailing company. So if I'm a customer of Didi, I can actually try to borrow a loan through the Didi app. And the loan is actually processed and underwritten through the digital bank at the back end. Now, Didi provides the customer data to enable the bank's credit engine to assess whether the customer is qualified or not and how much interest rate is going to be charged. How does the virtual bank do that? They do that by accessing the customer's information, of course, with the permission of the customer, of Didi. For example, where does the customer go frequently Do they appear to be a routine clerical office person, riding the car from home to office every day, routine hours? Do they hang out in the evenings late? Where do they go? All these behavioral data will enable the virtual bank having access to those data to underwrite those transactions on behalf of the ecosystem partner. So in that regard, the win-win situation is the bank would have very straightforward kind of processing, and with a AI-enabled credit engine, be able to grant loans with high volume of high numbers of customers, perhaps individually small amount of loans. Whereas the front end is faced by the ecosystem partner who enjoys the relationship with the customer. So the customer that don't need to exit the app, for example, when they like most, and they can actually access banking services. So that's one model. And therefore, a lot of banks actually are building, or the digital banks are building this kind of collaboration business model to ensure that they have low operating cost and they can generate a lot of businesses in a short period of time, tailored to the particular needs of certain segments of the market. Another example is actually, for example, if a retail shopping mall, the owner of the mall, the operator of the mall, they want to see, they want to assess how do they finance or provide financing to their tenants. They don't necessarily have the credit assessment capability, so they will provide the data to the digital bank. The digital bank will use, for example, smart IoT devices, which can track the transaction flows, the revenue flows, and perhaps through the point of sales machines, the actual cash flows of the particular tenants in the mall. So enabling the tenants to access credits with a reasonable amount of speed and tailor-made to their needs.
That is so interesting. I think that connectivity in the whole ecosystem really brings about, the power of a lot of these digital offering, as you said. Now, Raymond, I understand that Airstar Bank is part of a spider net, as you said, a group of companies that AMTD is involved with. Could you share with us sort of how do they complement each other, and what are the key milestones that you see in the next, say, 2 years?
Fine. First of all, by way of background, AMTD Group is actually a comprehensive financial services conglomerate. It is actually destined to be an ecosystem builder. And by that, I mean AMTD is actually set to build a financial services ecosystem in Asia, with Hong Kong as a base to cover the Greater Bay Area, and Singapore as a base to cover ASEAN. And as I'm sure most of the audience would be aware, the population of these two locations, GBA and ASEAN, would by now is actually 70 million and 650 million respectively. And assuming a 5% compound increase, it will reach in excess of 1 billion in about 7 to 10 years' time. So it's a huge market to deal with. So AMTD's goal is through this platform of ecosystem, particularly AMTD Digital, which is a principal subsidiary to be headquartered in Singapore, anchoring its platform and housekeeping all these ecosystem partners to enable tailor-made financial services, cross-border, innovative, comprehensive offerings to financial as well as non-financial players, which will enable everyone to win at the end of the day.
That's wonderful. We could go on like this forever, but unfortunately, time is not exactly, we have to compact, session. So I'd like to thank both Fred as well as Raymond for all your sharing, and wish you all the best in the journey ahead.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good day.